Hi, everybody. I'm Frank Stanisci of Candid Frank Live, and this is, of course, Candid Frank Live. We're part of the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download the app, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google, Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV Sticks, Roku Sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now, joining me as usual, the one, the only, Aaron William Freeland. Aaron, how you doing, buddy?
Doing all right, Frank. How are you?
Not feeling very well, but besides that, I'll survive gratefully, happily, hopefully, all that wonderful stuff. It's football season, Aaron.
Yes, sir, it is.
So I think we should talk about the Canadian Football League. We have to wait till Sunday for the first game that we get to watch in our local community, known as the Metro Toronto area. The game is in BMO. The game is against Hamilton, and it's also a big moment for Argo fans, the Toronto Argonauts, whom already officially received all the rings on Lakeshore somewhere at some private residence in Lakeshore. But apparently they're going to give away 10,000 replica rings to all the people who show up at BMO Field on Sunday.
So this means basically that everybody that shows up is going to be getting themselves.
Oh, Aaron, stop. I'm saying there's going to be, I'm going to say there's going to be, you want to do an over and under for people at the game? Right. I'm going to say 1,250.
All right. So you're saying there's going to be over 12,050 people?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the under on that then.
That was easy, wasn't it?
Of course.
Wishful thinking and intelligent deducement. All right. So we have, of course, 4 games that were played, the first 4 games of the year. We had 2 road victories and 2 road losses. In other words, 2 home victories. The first was a road victory with BC. They defeated Calgary. Aaron, what do you think of the season thus far? And what do you think of these 2 teams, Calgary and BC? Do you have a judgment on them?
Well, right now, I think that what Calgary needs to do is just tear it all down, just right down to the studs and start fresh. I mean, obviously, losing that game as they did, 25-15 to the BC Lions is not the way you want to start the year. Now, the uniforms also probably didn't help, so you may want to consider scrapping those as well. I know that most of our Calgary fans are not that lunatic. But, it was one of those games where BC jumped out to an early lead and Calgary had to struggle and fight and claw to get themselves back into it. And it just wasn't enough. It's not the end of the world.
Hello. This is who? Calgary fans. Oh, geez. Listen, he's just telling a story. Holy mackerel. I just got a call from Calgary fans, Aaron. They're not happy. They feel that you spoke badly about their team. You know what? I can agree with you to the degree. The uniforms, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan that when it comes to uniforms. They don't over-thrill me or under-thrill me. They're uniforms, right? But they do look they're kind of retro, but not retro in a really, really nice way. But I think the fans would be more worried about, and you're right, I wouldn't say strip it to the structure, if you will, but I would say that there's going to have to be some patience because their number 1 quarterback hasn't proven to be a great quarterback yet. He's proved to be sufficient, adequate, and good enough to get him in the playoffs, but he hasn't done much more than that. And then on the other hand, with BC, they're a team that became an up-and-coming team with a young Canadian quarterback who has since gone to the NFL. And now they're using a quarterback that was in Montreal that I thought very highly of in Adams. And, he's a big play guy. And, I think it was less about how bad Calgary was. I think it's more about how good BC is. How about Hamilton and Winnipeg? Oh, boy. I wonder how many Hamilton fans saw the second half.
I'm willing to bet not that many. I mean, here's the thing, though. Hamilton is not known for being a good first half team. They never have been. Unfortunately, for them, they continue to prove that. And Winnipeg just absolutely exploited them in the first quarter. Having them down 21-4 coming out of that just did not look good for them. Outdone in yardage, 478 to 239. Outdone on passing plays, 21 for 31 to 17 to 33. Honestly, it was technically a game of two halves. It's just that Hamilton dug themselves too deep a hole in the first half to actually manage to climb out of it.
It was a game that saw Winnipeg do most of the scoring. Even the ones that were against them. It was a crazy game. And, good for Hamilton for fighting back. And, it was a combination of forced and unforced errors by Winnipeg. But, the lead that they had was insurmountable. They might have had a shot, but not quite. The game that really intrigued me the most was the Montreal-Ottawa game. Now, Montreal came away with the victory, but Ottawa has had a great defense for the past few years, and they have another one again. Their defense is getting frightening. I mean, it's an awesome defense. They get to the quarterback.
Anytime that you can actually hold the opposing team to under 250 yards, especially in a CFL game, is a very, very good thing. I mean, you look at the fact that they outsacked the Alouettes 6-1. That is showing signs of absolutely porous defense on Montreal's part and absolute penetration by theirs. It's fantastic. The fact that they forced 5 turnovers to 2 was just, a demonstration of the fact that they are on another level.
Did you see Fajardo? He's looking at his uniform almost to say they're not green, because it was a lot like last year. Speaking of green, Saskatchewan beat Edmonton. Edmonton has a great young quarterback. Saskatchewan has a team that wants to make the playoffs. And Trevor Harris has proved to be an efficient quarterback for them as well.
Yeah, and I think he proved himself when he played in Montreal as well. When you look at the passing statistics and you look at the total yardage, after the season that Saskatchewan had last year, they desperately needed to pull out something for the fans. This is, I think, part of their redemption arc. This is part of them getting back to the top again. Decent game. I'll be honest with you. I don't think there was all that much that was that remarkable, at least from my standpoint. What did you see anything that particularly stood out about either the Elks or the Riders?
The quarterback for the Elks, for the Riders, a great receiving core. There were some. There were some players there. There's a receiving core in Saskatchewan that, boy, oh boy, it's going to be. Trevor Harris gets used to them. It's going to be an interesting group of guys. Let's talk about some more football, the other kind though, the one where you use your toes and your head. Soccer. Israel secures 3rd place in the Under-20 World Cup. That's not a surprise, but a good deal for them.
This is absolutely fantastic for them. Now, the tournament was in Argentina, and this is actually Israel's debut tournament at the under-20 level. So this is huge for them. They beat South Korea 3-1 on Sunday in the 3rd-place playoff match. Ran Binyamin opened the scoring for the Israelis in the 19th minute at Diego Maradona Stadium. Omer Senor netted it in the 76th, and Enan Kalali scored Israel's 3rd goal in the 85th, just to sort of seal everything away. Now, Israel also managed to eliminate Brazil in the quarterfinals and knocked out Asian champions Uzbekistan in the round of 16. So this was an absolutely massive tournament for them. It's not done yet. It is technically done now. Italy and Uruguay played in the finals on Sunday.
Let's talk about the Canadian Open, won by a Canadian after almost 70 years.
This was a long time coming, and it actually ended with a typically Canadian thing too. It was a fellow Canadian golfer who wanted to jump on the course and congratulate the winner. But when he was running out there with his champagne bottle, he got tackled by security.
He got tackled by security. But I'm a golfer. It's okay. That was funny. That the picture really looks interesting too, because they really did take him down. They really took him down. Well, that's fantastic. This is an Abbotsford resident, a guy born in Abbotsford, British Columbia. Great sports town. Great news. I've been to many a Canadian Open, not recently, but back in the day, I used to cover it on a regular basis. and it wasn't a place where Canadians did really, 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 really well. But some of the greatest Canadians to play golf, I've seen them play there and were unsuccessful. And Aaron, the real magical thing about the Canadian Open this year, I think it was 4 or 5 Canadians were in the running to actually, they were close. That many of them, and that's unheard of. Making the cut and all that stuff. Canadians are doing really well in golf. We know what the ladies are doing. The ladies are awesome, but the guys are doing well as well. Let's talk about Major League Baseball. And the Toronto Blue Jays were about to be swept by Minnesota, but nope, didn't happen.
Yeah, I had the misfortune to attend the games on Friday and Saturday.
Thank God you didn't go on Sunday.
Right? Oh my goodness, I just couldn't. Just that
Jinx.
7-run 8th inning just
Jinx.
hurt. But yeah, no, at this rate, I may not be able to go to any more games, even when my mother-in-law comes to town. But yeah, Gausman left his teammates with a 5-run deficit. Kevin Biggio hit a 3-run homer in the 8th inning to complete a 7-6 comeback win for the Jays. It's one of those things where Gausman decided to try something a little different. He retired to the trainer's room inside the Blue Jays clubhouse and popped himself a beer. Turns out the rally beer actually worked, and they came up with the win.
Let's talk about the NBA, and Conor McGregor knocks out the Heat mascot in a bizarre NBA Finals promo. And by Conor McGregor, we mean UFC. Conor.
Yes. This was just a weird decision all around. There was a promotional gimmick for a giveaway that they were doing for a pain relief spray. Conor McGregor is also already not particularly well liked in Miami, but when Bernie came out, McGregor hit him with a left hook and then punched him again while he was down on the floor, apparently knocking him out. And then McGregor,
the guy inside
the suit, knocked him out like cold. Tried to spray the mascot with the pain relief product, while other people from the Heat's in-game promo team were actually dragging him off the floor. Now, they did release a statement saying that the gentleman inside the Bernie outfit was fine, and he had been released. But this is just one of those weird, I'm not sure what you were thinking moments.
Something tells me someone's getting a really good bonus in their paycheck this week.
Oh, they better.
Something tells me. I don't know why I think so. It just is something I'm thinking. Let's go to the National Hockey League, and we'll talk about the Winnipeg Jets and their number 1 goaltender. And oh boy,
there were 4 or 5 players that had expressed an interest in leaving the Winnipeg Jets. Number 1 among those is Connor Hellebuyck, who reportedly has no interest in signing a long-term deal to stay with the Jets. This is according to reporting from The Athletic. He was a Vezina Trophy finalist for the 3rd time in 6 seasons last year. He has 1 year remaining on a current deal at $6.16 million. He's eligible now to ink a new deal, but is widely considering asking to be traded to teams like the Leafs, Kings, Senators, Hurricanes, Devils, Penguins, and Golden Knights. These are all potential destinations.
2 Canadian teams he's interested. He's willing to go to a Canadian team?
Yeah, the one that surprises me the most in all of this is the Senators. But hey, different strokes for different folks.
No, but I think he knows there's something good going on there.
Well, we'll have to see about that. Now Frank Saravalli from Daily Faceoff says Hellebuck's number 2 on his top 25 trade targets board. So it could be interesting to see where he actually ends up with 1 year left on his deal.
Yeah, he's a goalie that for the most part plays really, really well. He would be a stud for most teams. The question is, though, who's going to be willing to make that kind of trade? It's going to take a lot to pry him out of Winnipeg, even though he still only has 1 year left to kill. Let's talk about Pierre-Luc Dubois and the Canadiens.
There's been a lot of chatter going back and forth about this gentleman. Pat Brisson, his agent, has basically come out and said, yeah, Montreal's a city he would probably, and I can talk about this because he doesn't have a contract at the moment. He's a restricted free agent. Montreal is a place in a city he'd like to play in. Now, evidently, back in 2016, there was a trade that was supposed to be in place with the Edmonton Oilers for the 4th overall pick, which is where Dubois was projected to go. PK Subban would have reportedly been headed the other way in the trade, but the deal fell through when the Blue Jackets selected Dubois instead of the Edmonton Oilers, as opposed to picking up Jesse Puljujarvi, who was actually the higher-ranked pick.
Right.
So, yeah, 2 different front offices in Montreal and 2 different franchises for Dubois and a not-so-private courting between those 2. And we'll have to see what actually happens here. We'll have to see what happens with general manager of the Habs, Kent Hughes, to see if he's going to make a move for him. Yeah, it's
French-Canadian player. Wouldn't mind going home.
Yep.
Another French-speaking interview for the media in Quebec. Always a good thing.
Yep, for sure.
I suppose. Let's talk about the Flames, and they're going to be giving a promotion to somebody lower on the coaching scale.
Yeah. So, after a lot of debate and some concern amongst Flames fans, Ryan Huska has been named the 24th coach in franchise history. So he's going to be replacing Darryl Suttler. ESPN's Kevin Weeks actually first broke the news back on Friday. But Huska actually spent the previous 5 seasons as an assistant coach for the Flames. He worked under Sutter, Jeff Ward, and Bill Peters. He was most recently in charge of Calgary's penalty kill, which ranked 6th in the NHL last season. So there is the ability there for him to adapt and change, and we'll have to see where this goes. It is his first job as a head coach in the NHL. He's 47 years old. He had spent time with Calgary's AHL affiliate before actually joining the Flames, and he actually spent some time coaching the Kelowna Rockets of the WHL. Most notably winning a Memorial Cup with the cup berth with them, not the cup itself, in 2009.
Hey, let's talk about that previously mentioned team, the Blue Jackets, who are having a curious dance in signing a certain player in a strange kind of series of events, and the player's name is Severson.
Yeah, this is one of those interesting trades. I'm not 100% sure what they're doing, but it was a sign and trade deal that brought Damon Severson to town on an 8-year deal worth $6.25 million on average. I mean, Severson is a competent all-round player, but he's not really somebody that's going to light the lamp for you, and he's not necessarily somebody that's going to be a shutdown defender. He's just sort of there. His ice time hasn't been maintaining itself. It sort of dropped off during the playoffs. In isolation, I guess this deal could be a bit of a but they also traded for Ivan Provorov early in the week. So we're looking at a trend of potentially questionable team building decisions here on Columbus's part.
I don't know. It'll make things interesting. And if the Stanley Cup are being played between 2 non-taxable state teams in Florida and Vegas, would you say there's a hero developing in that series, the series of your mind?
I would definitely like to say so. This is a player who is generally one of those workhouse and sort of, steady players in the league. And that gentleman, his name is Chandler Stevenson, has experienced a bit of a renaissance now that he's been with the Vegas Golden Knights. Had 2 goals the other night scored early for Vegas, which I think is what helped put their mark on it. He was a bit player in 2017-18 with the Washington Capitals. But over the past couple of seasons, in the middle of his career, surprisingly enough, he's actually grown a lot with the Golden Knights, and he's turned into a 65-point scorer.
And good for him.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some shenanigans. Pick
Sure.
a couple of shenanigans in our last 2 minutes.
Well, let's talk about the youngest university graduate in Canadian history. This is a bit of a fun one here.
All right, let's talk about that.
Anthea Grace Patricia Dennis has now become the youngest person in Canadian history to graduate from university.
And how old is she?
She's 12 years old.
How old is she?
12. Just a dozen years.
She's not even a teenager yet.
Nope. She's accepted her University of Ottawa diploma for a bachelor's degree in biomedical science, and she accepted it on Saturday evening. She actually started her university studies when she was 9 and completed a 40-page thesis about the relationship between the brain and the hand for right-handed versus left-handed people. So,
wow. Okay,
yeah.
got one more. We got a minute.
Got one more? Okay.
Yep.
Let's talk about the crosses from a New Zealand shipwreck that are being sent back to Quebec in honor of a 19th century patriot. This is kind of cool. It's the 185-year-old wish of a francophone man who rebelled against British rule. Francois Xavier Prieur was one of a dozen patriots who exiled to Australia aboard the HMS Buffalo as punishment for his part of the 1837-1838 uprising in Lower Canada, now known as Quebec. He later wrote of his desire that pieces of the ship be sent to his home as a reminder of what he had suffered. So last month, thanks to a Quebec Australian film crew, where the HMS Buffalo was wrecked in 1840, they found a couple of crosses that were in there and are sending them back to his family.
Thanks for doing this, Aaron. You're awesome.
Appreciate it, Frank.
You're the beast.
You're the best.
And he's Aaron William Freeland. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Live, Aaron, Mondays, Wednesdays, and used to be Fridays, but not for a few weeks because we're taking summertime off. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. And don't forget, Candid Frank Stanisci 1030 on YouTube. Subscribe, join, watch, enjoy. Later, everybody.